Welcome aboard, thrill seekers. This isn't just any floating city. It's a paradise for your taste buds and a potential battleground for your stomach. Tonight, we set sail on a culinary adventure where the promise is luxury, but the risk is real. I'm Mike, your fearless guide to the wild, weird, and sometimes worrying world of cruise ship cuisine. I've survived kitchens from London to Sydney, and trust me, what happens behind those galley doors would make even Gordon Ramsay lose his lunch. Before you charge the buffet, remember, cruise ships serve thousands of meals a day. One tiny slip-up and you could be the next cautionary tale. Picture it, hundreds of cooks, mountains of food, and a maze of stainless steel, all swaying with the waves. It's a miracle anything edible makes it to your plate, let alone Instagram-worthy. I've witnessed kitchen horrors that would make your stomach do a backflip. Once I saw a tray of prawns take a detour across the floor, then get scooped up, garnished, and served. Bon appetit indeed. But nothing, and I mean nothing, compares to the culinary chaos that can strike when you're miles from the nearest hospital, floating in the middle of nowhere. Continues. Out here, a simple mistake can turn your dream holiday into a stomach-churning nightmare. Did you know? The CDC investigates dozens of foodborne illness outbreaks on cruise ships every year. Staying sharp and informed is your best defense. Continues. So if you want to keep your holiday on track, you'll want to pay close attention. You booked this cruise for blue skies, endless buffets, and poolside cocktails, not for hugging the toilet because you ate something that's been out longer than the captain's career. Stick with me and I'll show you how to survive the buffet, dodge disaster, and make it home with your dignity and your digestive tract intact. Ready? Let's dive into the 10 circles of cruise food hell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. First up on my hit list, sushi. That colorful, tempting little platter sitting on the buffet, calling your name. But before you grab those chopsticks, let's talk about what really goes on behind the scenes. Sushi on a cruise ship is a logistical nightmare. Most of it is sourced in bulk, flash frozen, and shipped thousands of miles before it ever sees the buffet. Once on board, it's stored in massive walk-in fridges, then prepped in huge batches, sometimes hours, even a day before serving. It looks so fresh, so delicate, so dangerous. Sushi on a cruise ship is a gamble, and the odds are not in your favor. The moment those trays hit the buffet, the clock starts ticking. Here's where things go wrong. Sushi is meant to be made to order by skilled chefs and eaten immediately. On a cruise, it's often prepped in bulk, left out on display, and handled by dozens of people. Cross-contamination is a real risk, especially when the same gloves or utensils are used for raw fish and cooked items. Let me be absolutely crystal clear. Eating raw fish that's been sitting on a buffet line for hours is like playing Russian roulette with a norovirus pistol. Bacteria like Salmonella, Vibrio, and the infamous norovirus thrive in the moist, room-temperature environment of a buffet. There have been real outbreaks, like the 2015 norovirus incident on a luxury liner traced back to contaminated sushi, or the 2019 outbreak where dozens fell ill after eating buffet sashimi, hundreds sick, holidays ruined. Even if it looks chilled, those trays are constantly opened and closed, and the temperature can creep up into the danger zone, perfect for bacteria to multiply. Watch for sushi that looks dry, discolored, or has a strange smell. Those are red flags. Let me tell you about Sarah, a passenger I met who couldn't resist the rainbow rolls at the buffet. She felt fine at lunch, but by dinner she was doubled over with stomach cramps and spent the next 2 days in her cabin. All because of one bad bite. If you absolutely must have sushi at sea, here are my tips. Only eat sushi made to order, right in front of you. Avoid anything that's been sitting out. Skip raw fish entirely if you have a weakened immune system, are pregnant, or traveling with kids. If you have allergies or dietary restrictions, be extra cautious. Cross-contact is common and ingredient labels aren't always clear. When in doubt, ask the chef or skip the sushi altogether. When in doubt, turn around, walk away. There are plenty of safer options on board. Don't let a pretty roll ruin your trip. Next up, the stuff you trust the most, water and ice. But should you? Let's dive into the murky depths of cruise ship hydration. You might think, it's a modern ship, surely the water's safe. Well, let's take a peek behind the scenes, because what you don't see can hurt you. Cruise ships use desalination, reverse osmosis, UV light, and a cocktail of filters to turn seawater into something drinkable. Sounds impressive, right? But the journey doesn't end there. Here's the catch. After all that high-tech wizardry, the water travels through miles of pipes, some older than the ship's captain and not always as clean as you'd hope. Biofilm, bacteria, and even flakes of rust can build up inside those pipes. Sometimes what comes out of the tap isn't as pure as you'd expect, especially after the ship's been at sea for weeks. There have been real outbreaks, norovirus, E. coli, even Legionella, traced back to contaminated water systems on ships. In 2017, a luxury liner had to cut its voyage short after dozens fell ill from tainted water. Not exactly the souvenir you want. And don't get me started on the ice machines. If they're not cleaned obsessively, they become playgrounds for mold and bacteria. Ever seen black gunk around an ice chute? That's your cue to run. Picture this. A passenger fills their bottle, touches the nozzle, and the next person gets a taste of whatever was on their hands. Lovely. Cross-contamination at its finest. In 2019, a norovirus outbreak on a major cruise line was linked to, you guessed it, contaminated ice. Hundreds sick, holidays ruined, all from a few cubes in a drink. So what can you do? First, drink bottled water, preferably sealed name-brand bottles. If the seal's broken or the label looks dodgy, skip it. Avoid ice unless you're sure the machine is spotless. Peek inside. If you see slime, mold, or cloudy ice, walk away. And never fill your bottle by touching the nozzle to your bottle's rim. If you must use tap water, let it run for a few seconds first. If it smells odd, looks cloudy, or tastes off, don't risk it. Your gut will thank you. And here's a pro tip. Bring a reusable bottle with a built-in filter. It won't save you from everything, but it's an extra layer of defense when you're far from shore. Remember, you're not just avoiding a dodgy drink, you're dodging days of misery in your cabin bathroom. Stay sharp, stay hydrated, and don't let water or ice sink your holiday. Breakfast on a cruise ship looks like a dream. Endless trays of eggs, omelette stations, and chefs in tall hats flipping pans. But behind the scenes, it's a different story. Every morning, thousands of eggs are cracked in bulk, sometimes hours before you even wake up. Picture massive tubs of liquid eggs, poured out and prepped for the rush. It's a logistical marvel, but it comes with risks. The trouble is, when eggs are handled in such huge quantities, cross-contamination is almost inevitable. One bad egg can spoil the whole batch, and utensils or hands can spread bacteria from raw to cooked food in seconds. The biggest danger? Undercooked eggs. Salmonella bacteria can survive in runny yolks or eggs that haven't been held at the right temperature. And with so many eggs being prepped at once, it's easy for some to slip through undercooked. There have been real outbreaks, like the infamous Eggs Benedict incident on a Mediterranean cruise where dozens fell ill after eating eggs that weren't cooked through. Stomach cramps, fever, and relentless trips to the loo. Trust me, not the kind of shore excursion you want. Salmonella isn't just a minor bug. For kids, older adults, pregnant women, or anyone with a weakened immune system, it can be downright dangerous. Symptoms can last for days and sometimes require medical attention. So how do you stay safe? Skip the scrambled eggs in the chafing dish unless you're sure they're piping hot. At the omelette station, ask the chef to cook your eggs well done. No runny bits. If you see eggs sitting out, especially if they look glossy or undercooked, give them a miss. Don't be shy. Ask for a fresh batch or watch your omelette made to order. Or play it extra safe, choose hard-boiled eggs. They're cooked through, easy to spot, and much less likely to ruin your day. And if you're in a high-risk group, stick to these or skip eggs altogether. Bottom line, cruise ship breakfasts can be delicious, but don't let a dodgy egg scramble your holiday. Stay sharp, ask questions, and when in doubt, choose the safest option. Ah, dessert. The moment everyone's been waiting for. But before you grab that cone, let's talk about what's really inside that soft-serve swirl. The self-serve ice cream machine, glowing, humming, promising sweet, creamy bliss at the pull of a lever. But inside, it's a maze of tubes, nozzles, and chambers, most of which rarely see a proper cleaning. Here's how it's supposed to work. Every night, the machine should be taken apart, scrubbed, and sanitized. Every tube, every nozzle, every hidden corner. But on a floating city serving thousands, do you really think that happens every single day? All it takes is a bit of leftover mix, a warm corner, and suddenly you've got a breeding ground for bacteria like Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli. These bugs love the dark, sticky insides of a neglected machine. There have been real outbreaks, cruise passengers falling ill after a quick swirl of soft serve. I'll never forget the story of a little girl on a family holiday. One cone, a few hours later, and she spent the rest of the trip in the ship's infirmary, feverish and miserable. Hundreds sick, holidays ruined, all for a cone. And don't forget, hundreds of people, kids with sticky hands, all grabbing that same lever all day long. Germs on hands, germs on levers, germs in your cone. If you have allergies, especially to dairy, nuts or gluten, soft serve is a minefield. Cross-contamination is almost guaranteed, and ingredient labels are nowhere in sight. So what's the safe play? Skip the soft serve if you want ice cream, choose pre-packaged, individually wrapped ice cream bars, or find the station scooping hard ice cream, properly frozen with fewer hiding spots for germs. If you absolutely must indulge, watch the staff. Are they cleaning the machine? Are they wearing gloves? If anything looks off, walk away. That soft serve swirl isn't a treat, it's a threat, and don't let dessert be the reason you spend your cruise in the infirmary. Remember, when it comes to dessert at sea, play it smart. Choose sealed, safe, and simple. Your stomach will thank you. Now, let's talk about the riskiest catch on any cruise buffet: shellfish. Mussels, clams, oysters, shrimp. They look like a luxury, but they can be a minefield for your gut. And it all starts long before they hit your plate. Most shellfish served on cruise ships is sourced from far-off fisheries, packed on ice and shipped thousands of miles. By the time it arrives, it's already been out of the water for days. Ice slows spoilage, but it's not a magic shield. Bacteria and toxins can still thrive. Here's the problem: on a ship in the middle of the ocean, that fresh oyster or shrimp probably traveled thousands of miles and has been sitting on ice for hours, sometimes days. Ice isn't a refrigerator, it just slows down the inevitable. Once on board, shellfish is stored in walk-in coolers or on beds of ice at the buffet, but every time the tray is opened, the temperature creeps up. Bacteria like Vibrio, norovirus, and even hepatitis love these conditions. And let's not forget about toxins. Some shellfish can carry dangerous substances that aren't destroyed by cooking. Shellfish are notorious for harboring bacteria like Vibrio, norovirus, and even hepatitis A. Vibrio in particular thrives in warm, brackish water and can multiply rapidly if shellfish aren't kept at a safe, constant temperature. There have been real outbreaks. I once saw a group of friends at a cruise buffet piling their plates high with oysters. By the next morning, half of them were queasy and a few spent the rest of the trip in their cabins. Classic norovirus, traced back to those fresh oysters. And it's not just stomach bugs. Shellfish can also carry toxins like saxitoxin and domoic acid, causing serious, even life-threatening food poisoning. These toxins have no taste or smell, and you can't cook them out. Even if you see a bed of ice under those oysters, it's not enough. The temperature fluctuates every time someone opens the buffet, and bacteria love that. If you have a shellfish allergy, steer clear of the buffet entirely. Cross-contamination is common. Tongs, trays, and serving spoons are often shared. Even a tiny amount can trigger a severe reaction. If you absolutely must have shellfish, here's the only safe way. Make sure it's cooked to order, right in front of you, and served piping hot. Skip anything raw or pre-cooked that's been sitting out, and if you're not sure, ask the staff when and how it was prepared. If they can't answer, walk away. No plate of shrimp cocktail is worth a ruined holiday. My advice, unless you want to spend your holiday in the ship's infirmary, avoid the shellfish buffet altogether. Don't let a moment of fancy indulgence ruin your entire trip. Carnivores gather round. The carving station glistens like a carnivore's paradise, but beneath the sizzle and shine lurks a minefield of hidden dangers. Picture this: chefs in crisp whites, slicing roast beef, flipping burgers and juggling dozens of orders at once. It looks impressive, but the reality is a race against time and temperature. You see the chef, knife in hand, asking, "How would you like it?" The temptation to say rare please is real, but here's the rub. On a ship serving thousands, meat is cooked in massive batches, then held under heat lamps or in chafing dishes. That fresh steak might have been sitting for half an hour, cooling into the danger zone, but here's the harsh truth. On a floating city serving thousands, food safety is a numbers game, and undercooked meat is a losing bet. Let's talk bacteria. E. coli, Salmonella, and Campylobacter love undercooked beef. If the meat isn't cooked through, those bugs can survive and multiply, especially in ground meat, where bacteria from the surface get mixed throughout. Stop. Just stop. Rare steak or pink burgers might sound gourmet, but they're a playground for bacteria like E. coli and Salmonella. Don't believe me? Meet Dave. Last year, Dave ordered a rare burger at the poolside grill. Looked juicy, tasted great. 12 hours later, he was doubled over in his cabin, missing the island excursion and bonding with the bathroom. The real danger is ground meat, burgers, meatballs, anything that's been mixed. Unlike steak, bacteria on the surface get mixed throughout, so only thorough cooking makes it safe. Outbreaks happen. In 2018, a cruise line had to quarantine dozens after an E. coli outbreak traced to undercooked burgers. The culprit, patties that looked brown on the outside but were still pink inside. Cruise ship kitchens work at breakneck speed, churning out hundreds of burgers and steaks at once. Mistakes happen. Meat can sit in the danger zone where bacteria thrive. Here's what you do. For burgers, insist on well done, no pink, no exceptions. For steak, ask for medium well or well done and request a slice from the end where it's most cooked. That's why you must insist. Burgers cooked all the way through, no pink. For steak, ask for well done or at least medium well and request a slice from the end where it's most cooked. If you see a burger that's even slightly pink, send it back. Better a dry, overcooked bite than spending your shore day worshipping the porcelain god. If you have dietary restrictions, pregnant, immunocompromised, or just cautious, avoid rare or medium meats entirely. Ask staff about how food is cooked and held. Don't be shy, your health is worth it. Remember, you're not at a 5-star steakhouse, you're in a mass catering operation at sea. Play it safe and you'll enjoy your holiday, not regret it. This one should be common sense, but you'd be amazed how many people get it wrong, especially on a cruise ship. I'm talking about those big communal snack bowls, nuts, pretzels, trail mix, just sitting out for anyone to grab. It's not a snack bowl, it's a petri dish, and every hand is a new science experiment. Think about it. Hundreds, maybe thousands of hands, some just out of the pool, some fresh from the loo, dipping in for a handful. Each time, they leave behind a little souvenir, germs, bacteria, even viruses. It's like a germ relay race, and the finish line is your stomach. Here's a true story. On one cruise, a norovirus outbreak was traced back to a bowl of mixed nuts at the bar. One sick passenger, a few careless hands, and suddenly dozens of people were spending their holiday in the bathroom instead of on the beach. There have been real outbreaks traced back to communal snacks. Norovirus, E. coli, you name it. All it takes is one person with dirty hands and suddenly half the ship is queasy. Germs can survive on surfaces for hours, just waiting for their next victim. Parents, listen up. Kids are the worst offenders. Little hands go from railings to snacks to mouths in seconds. If you've got children, keep them away from communal bowls and pack your own sealed snacks. If you see a bowl of peanuts or candy just sitting out, walk away. Don't be tempted. The risk isn't worth it. Instead, look for snacks that are individually wrapped or sealed. Little packets of nuts, crisps, or granola bars. If it's not sealed, don't eat it. And if you absolutely must snack, use tongs or a spoon, never your hands. But honestly, your best bet is to skip the communal bowls altogether. Don't let a moment of mindless munching expose you to the collective germs of an entire cruise ship. Be smart, be safe, and keep your hands and your stomach out of trouble. On a cruise, it's not just what you eat, but how you eat it that keeps you healthy. Let's talk about the healthy option at the buffet, fruit. You see those vibrant displays and think, what could possibly go wrong? Well, buckle up. Here's the scoop. Most fruit on cruise ships is bought in bulk from ports all over the world. It's picked before it's ripe, packed into crates, and can spend days, sometimes weeks, in storage before it ever sees the buffet. During that time, fruit is exposed to pesticides, wax coatings, and handled by countless people. Each step is a chance for bacteria to hitch a ride. Cruise kitchens do wash fruit, but let's be honest, when you're prepping for thousands, it's more of a quick rinse than a deep clean. Pesticides and bacteria can linger, especially in crevices and on thin skins. And those beautiful fruit platters, they sit out for hours, giving bacteria plenty of time to multiply, especially on grapes, berries, and melon slices. The longer it sits, the riskier it gets. Here's where it gets nasty. Fruit with thin skins or lots of nooks, like strawberries or grapes, are perfect hiding spots for pesticides and germs. A quick rinse won't cut it. Let's get real. There have been outbreaks traced back to contaminated fruit on cruise ships. In 2018, a group of passengers fell ill after eating pre-cut melon that had been sitting out too long. Vomiting, fever, the works, not the kind of souvenir you want. If you have allergies, be extra cautious. Fruit trays can be cross-contaminated with nuts, dairy, or even shellfish from nearby dishes. Always ask the staff, and when in doubt, skip it. So, how do you play it safe? Stick to fruit you can peel yourself, bananas, oranges, or even a kiwi if you're feeling fancy. The peel acts as a natural barrier. For apples, pears, or anything with edible skin, take it back to your cabin and wash it thoroughly with soap and water. Yes, really, soap and water. And if you see pre-cut fruit sitting out, especially melon or berries, give it a miss. Those are prime real estate for bacteria and viruses. Bottom line, if you can't peel it and you can't wash it yourself, don't eat it. Better safe than spending your holiday in the ship's infirmary. Trust your gut, literally. Let's head over to the sandwich bar, the land of endless cold cuts, gleaming glass, and hungry passengers eyeing up the deli trays. It all looks inviting, but there's a hidden danger lurking beneath those slices. You grab a bit of turkey, some ham, maybe a slice of salami, but here's the catch. These meats are often pre-sliced in bulk, stacked in open trays, and left exposed to air for hours. That's prime real estate for bacteria. Even when refrigerated, the temperature in those display cases isn't always consistent. If the cold chain breaks, bacteria like Listeria can multiply fast, especially in moist, cold environments. Listeria is the real villain here. It thrives in cold, damp places, just like those deli trays. For most, it's a nasty stomach bug, but for pregnant women, older adults, and anyone with a weakened immune system, it can be deadly. In 2017, a cruise ship outbreak made headlines. Dozens fell ill after eating contaminated deli meats. The culprit? Listeria hiding in a slicer that wasn't properly cleaned between batches. One elderly passenger ended up in hospital for weeks. The meat slicer is a major risk. If it's not stripped down and sanitized after every use, bacteria from one batch can spread to the next. A quick wipe with a cloth just won't cut it. And those trays of meat, they're often topped up throughout the day with new slices piled on top of old ones. The longer they sit, the greater the risk, especially if the temperature creeps above safe levels. My advice? If you're craving a sandwich, look for fillings cooked fresh, like grilled chicken or hot roast beef, straight from the grill to your plate. Skip the cold cuts unless you see them sliced in front of you and served straight from the fridge. Pregnant, over 60, or have a weakened immune system. Avoid deli meats altogether unless they're steaming hot. Listeria can cross the placenta and cause miscarriage, and it's especially dangerous for seniors. And if you see sad, slimy, pre-sliced cold cuts lounging in the open air, walk away. They're not worth the risk. There are safer, tastier options waiting for you elsewhere on board. Don't let a sandwich ruin your holiday. Be picky, be safe, and you'll enjoy your cruise without a side of regret. Number 10 on my list is a silent saboteur of cruise ship buffets, creamy sauces and dressings. These seemingly innocent sides, potato salad, coleslaw, tuna salad, and thick dressings, can be a recipe for disaster if you're not careful. Here's how it works. These foods are made in massive batches, hours, sometimes even a day before you ever see them. They're mixed in big tubs, then scooped into trays and set out on the buffet line, often sitting at room temperature far too long. The key danger is temperature. If these creamy dishes aren't kept ice cold, below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, bacteria like Staphylococcus, Salmonella, and Listeria can multiply at lightning speed. One dodgy tray can take down half the dining room. I once met a passenger, let's call her Linda, who loaded up on potato salad at lunch. By midnight, she was doubled over in her cabin, feverish and miserable. The culprit? Bacteria that had been festering in a lukewarm tray all afternoon. She spent the rest of her cruise in the infirmary, missing every port. And, let's be honest, on a busy cruise ship, those trays are often left out too long or topped up with fresh salad on top of old, lukewarm leftovers. If you see creamy salads or dressings sitting out, especially if they look glossy, separated, or a bit crusty around the edges, steer clear. If you have food allergies, especially to eggs, dairy, or mustard, be extra cautious. Buffets are notorious for cross-contamination, and labels aren't always reliable. When in doubt, ask the staff or skip the creamy stuff altogether. Instead, go for vinaigrette-based dressings, olive oil or vinegar. Or make your own with fresh greens and a sealed bottle. These are far less likely to harbour dangerous bacteria and are usually safer for people with allergies. Remember, creamy doesn't always mean dreamy. On a cruise ship, it can mean risky. Play it smart, and you'll avoid a recipe for ruin and keep your holiday on track. All right, let's wrap this up with the golden rules for surviving cruise cuisine and actually enjoying your holiday. Here's your cheat sheet. Eat food that's cooked fresh and served hot. Peel your own fruit. Wash your hands like your holiday depends on it, because it does. Skip anything that's been sitting out. Avoid communal snack bowls. And if a buffet tray looks suspicious, trust your gut, not your appetite. Choose sealed snacks, bottled water, and anything you see cooked right in front of you. When in doubt, ask the staff. Don't be shy. Remember, you're the best health inspector you've got. A little caution means a lot more fun and a lot less time regretting your choices. Got a cruise food horror story or a tip to keep us all safe? Drop it in the comments. Let's help each other cruise smarter. If you found this helpful, Smash that like button, subscribe for more brutally honest travel advice, and share this with anyone about to set sail. Stay sharp, eat smart, and have a